r/ask Reddit. What's a sign that somebody wasn't raised right? They don't take responsibility for their actions. Or worse, they want you to take responsibility for their actions. You give them a lift and they leave rubbish in your car. This kind of stunned me as a driver for Lyft and Uber. I'd never dream of leaving my trash in a cab or someone else's car. How they treat people from whom they have nothing to gain. The word no just means throw a fit and be as obnoxious as you can be until you get your way. No does not mean that rules are rules or someone's job might be on the line. They're the important one, not anyone else. If they make messes in public areas and just wander off leaving trash in the theater, not flushing, or leaving the cart in a parking space. Disrespecting people for doing their job. People who look down on cleaners, janitors, sanitary workers. They tell their kids that they'll end up like those people if they don't succeed in stealing or competing with others or some bullcrap. Lack of personal accountability. They never admit wrongdoing on their part. It's always someone else's fault. Not respecting personal boundaries. If you're wondering why someone has these sort of issues, take a look at their parents. One rule for me, one rule for you. The rule's for three, but not for me. Parents that mess up on the discipline and accountability stage of parenting produce these people. Who are the guys who spit out the chewing gum into urinals? I see this all the time at work, and I work in a high-end corporate place. Do they think it dissolves and goes down the pipe? The janitor has to pick that out. How they act as a boss when their employee messes up. Yelling and belittling shouldn't be your first option. They always portray themselves as a victim. Nothing is ever their fault and somebody is always out to get them. I remember hearing as a kid about Native American belief that's really stuck with me. After you die, as you're entering the afterlife, you must cross a bridge. The bridge is filled with every animal you had a personal encounter within your lifetime, and together as a whole, they decide your fate, whether or not you can cross the bridge to heaven. This was the first and only time I've heard of your fate being decided by animals. I'd say on the other end of the spectrum, if someone is anxious about simple social interactions, like sharing their opinions, this is a big indicator that somebody's parents' temper had a hair trigger. I know a few of these types of people, and they tend to have one or more of the following traits. They are disrespectful to everyone, not just authority figures. Watch how they treat customer service or retail staff. They have no manners in general, or only use manners when they absolutely have to preserve their interests. They are cruel to people or animals, and laugh at the suffering of others. Someone that does things to intentionally hurt another person's feelings after they've expressed that certain things hurt their feelings. They never say please or thank you. My parents were super sticklers for rules and manners growing up, but they never say please or thank you in restaurants. It is so embarrassing to eat out with them. They leave trash in the theater and state that it's the employee's job to clean up their mess. They whistle, snap their fingers, or make that pss pss sound to get the server's attention in a restaurant. Turning the conversation back to themselves at all cost. Being a good listener is a sign of a person raised well. They apologize for every little thing, probably a sign that they grew up with abusive parents that got mad over anything and everything. We know someone that won't get a checking account or direct deposit because the banks just steal your money, and he takes his paycheck to a payday loan shop instead. We also know his mom, who is in her mid-40s and on her third bankruptcy. They don't actually listen to what you're saying and just try to formulate a response. They don't know how to do normal household stuff. I've seen people that don't even know how to make their own coffee or clean a toilet. People who don't offer to help you clean up when they are visiting you, like having friends over and them leaving you with all the beer bottles, bowls, and glasses on the table. I don't mind cleaning up, but I always offer when at someone else's house. You make the mess together. Inviting themselves to other people's homes or gatherings. Years ago, my ex and I were planning on doing a double date with my brother and his wife for Valentine's Day. One of those places that do tricks and cook the food on a big grill in front of you. My mother invited herself, and since the tables fit up to 10 people, she invited more people. I didn't even know until a huge group showed up. Of course, I was expected to pay, even though none of them were invited. We lost a beloved pet today. One of our friends said, "Time to get another." This happened today. I'm not sure if he's stupid, insensitive, or just a butt. If you go to someone's house and they cook for you, you eat it with a big smile and lots of thanks, even if it was garbage. My wife brought her friend over for lunch. I made pierogies. She goes, "That's not a meal, that's a side," and goes to get Quiznos. Blew me away. Someone's hospitality is the deepest respect they can show you. You have to give it back. How conscientious you are of that scenario is a good sign on how you were raised. They don't ask about or even say hi to your family members when they come over. I've seen people completely ghost my parents as they walk through the house, and I couldn't wrap my head around it honestly. They gossip about others and will be vindictive behind people's backs, but pretend to be sweet to their face. They think handling a disagreement means shouting, attacking someone's character, name-calling, or breaking things. So whatever this kid turns out to be is the answer to your question. I follow some trashy people from grade school on social media. There is one that is also posting memes for stuff, like, if your girl sucks things like this, you know she loves it, or, I want a man that's dirty enough to F in the bathroom at family dinner. She has an 8-year-old kid. My future fiancé and I sometimes look and think, could you imagine if we friended the mom of our 3rd grader and this was her effing social media? Jesus Christ. We aren't in contact, but I am almost certain that this kid won't be raised right. If someone thinks hurting or treating an animal inhumane is alright, I love animals, especially my cat and dog. I speak out when I see someone treating their dog poorly. It's really reflected at dog parks and how their pet reacts. The way they treat an animal. If you're abusive to your pet, I have no sympathy for you. The amount of love that an animal can offer deserves the utmost respect. In college, I saw a classmate discard a paper cup, partly full of tea, by putting it on the roof of someone's car. When he suddenly realized the owner was in the car, he picked up the cup and placed it on another car whose owner was absent. They don't ask for things, they expect things. I find this is usually the case for people who grew up very well off. They do not understand concepts like character or integrity. They think that everyone is in it for themselves, and anyone who says otherwise is lying, shines a bright light on their whole disgusting character. When they constantly make excuses for their actions and never take responsibility for their wrongdoings, yet when they face the consequences of the same actions, complain about how the world isn't fair to them. Everything has to be told in a way that makes them seem interesting. They seek attention, even though the constant lies they tell others. They believe they're the victim in every situation. They can never be wrong. It's a sign of their parents enabling them. A person that doesn't understand littering is wrong. I was in a convenience store today and a dude behind me in line opened his thirst buster straw while in line and just dropped the wrapping on the ground. I cannot comprehend what would make a person think that is okay. Yelling at, using profanity towards, and hitting children. There are ways to discipline children without the use of fear or force. I think these parents simply are a product of his or her respective upbringing and passing it along to their kids, a cycle of belittling and abuse. Leaving a grocery item you no longer want just randomly on a shelf, mostly leaving cold and frozen items in the bread aisle. If you show your kids this, they will also do this. They mistake cultural differences for rudeness. The classic example is the British person who thinks the French are rude because they are so direct, or the French person who thinks the Brits are rude because they never say what they mean. My nephew stayed with me once. When he went to use the bathroom, he put the seat down and peed everywhere except into the toilet. That was just the beginning. The time he spent with me got much worse. I tried correcting his behavior, but he wouldn't listen and had no empathy. I had a talk with my brother about it and tried to give him constructive criticism about his parenting. It didn't go well, and I no longer talk to my brother. Long story short, my nephew ended up needing psychiatric therapy. I hope he turns out okay. Citing the Bible or religion in general. Picking and choosing specifics while omitting the rest to back up personal views, or as evidence in literally anything. This is not a healthy behavior in 2020.